This is our final content segment for this class, and it has to do with giving an effective presentation. The one key point I want you guys to remember about all of this is the tell-'em rule. What is the tell-'em rule? And you all better know this because it's going to come up. 3 parts of the tell-'em rule. Any presentation needs to follow this organization to be effective. Tell them what you're going to tell them. Tell them what you told them. What does this mean? It means you start every presentation, maybe after some kind of initial opening of some sort, with an agenda. This is what we're going to cover today. It will take approximately this long. Give them some housekeeping rules. There'll be a 5-minute break for you to look at your phones. We'll have lunch afterwards so they can relax. They know where they're going. They know how long it's going to last and what's going to be done. So you tell them what you're going to tell them. Then you tell them, which is the content of your presentation. At the end of the presentation, because people can usually remember no more than 2 or 3 things, you summarize. Here are the main points we covered in today's presentation. 1, 2, 3. Any questions? Thank you for your time. And as a last point, in terms of next steps, we expect to hear back from you by when? Next Wednesday? Thank you very much. That's the tell-'em rule. That's how to be organized and clear whatever you are presenting, even if it's one-on-one with you and your boss. So again, this means there's an agenda, there's your content, and there's a summary. A few more points on effective presentations. People don't remember the words you say or the text you show as much as they remember pictures. Pictures are processed thousands of times more quickly than words. So wherever possible, you're going to use visual aids. And wherever possible, rather than just showing text, which is mostly what I do, I'm afraid. So I'm kind of a bad example for you guys. But instead of showing text, you show a visual. Okay, you show a picture of it. So instead of showing text that says the purchase funnel, you show the purchase funnel. Okay. Second, it helps to have a theme for any business presentation. So it doesn't have to be profound. It can be, making ivory liquid #1. Or, our steps to leadership. I mean, it doesn't have to be profound. It can be kind of a cliche, frankly. But the theme should appear on every slide, maybe with some kind of logo or visual treatment. It should be referred to at the beginning of the presentation. It should be referred to at the end of the presentation. It provides a spine, a through line for the entire presentation. I find this very helpful. So next, the 3 key ideas is what people can remember. So definitely hit these 3 at the end. Now, when you're presenting live in front of a group, you don't want to just hide behind the lectern or stand frozen on the stage. You want to be relaxed. You want to move around the stage. You want to look at your audience. You want to gesture and use your body to make your points, because your body can be a visual too. So, when you point up, it means we're going up. When you bang your fist, it means you're emphasizing things, etc. Move and use your body. Now, here's a very important point. Communication is a 2-way street. Communication means I'm putting something out, but it also means you're getting it. Or you better be getting it, or I'm not communicating well. What's the best way to see whether you're communicating well or whether someone's getting it is to ask. Am I making sense here? Are these points valid? Do you disagree or agree with what I've said so far? Do you have questions so far? Ask for feedback, and don't wait for the end of the presentation. Pick a point, maybe in your SWOT analysis, if it's that kind of presentation, when you finished it, say, is there something we've missed? Because if you get their buy-in, if they have problems, they may be discounting all the rest of what you say because they disagreed with one point you made. And the best way to handle that is to get it out and address the question honestly and thoroughly as well as you can, and then you move on. Right, so here's another one. All my students do this. They haven't rehearsed. They're not quite sure what's on the slides. The slides have a lot of text. So they think the way to give a presentation is to stand in front of the class, but put their back to the class and read their slides. That is not the way to give a good presentation. You should know your slides and your material. You should not just repeat what's on the slides. You should have something to say, and the slides provide a visual reinforcement, a pictorial reinforcement. It provides bullet points. It's not everything you're going to say. Get rid of all that text. Shorten it up. Make it punchy. And look at me. Look at your audience while you're presenting. Every slide must make a point. Don't have 3 different points on one slide. There's a chart here and a research thing here and something else there. Each slide focuses on one piece of information and makes one point. And then at the end of every presentation, particularly if it's a sales presentation, you want to have some next steps after you've asked questions, etc. Here's what should happen next, ... and everyone should be in agreement on it. Now, you are now, class, going to be privileged to be the recipients of the best presentation guidebook, presentation skills guidebook I have ever seen, I've ever read, etc. And this is some training I received early in my career from an outfit that used to train. I was working at an ad agency as an account executive on Procter & Gamble Business. I was working on, I think, either Cascade dishwasher detergent or Ivory Liquid for your dishes. Guaranteed to make your hands young looking when you use Ivory Liquid. And I went to a 2-day presentation seminar. Now, if I were you, I would download this from, I'm going to make it available as a separate kind of attachment on Blackboard. If I were you, I'd download it and keep it. Because if you look at this and follow it, you're going to be an amazing presenter. I'm just going to touch on different things. I've scanned about 10 or 12 pages of this here. If I were you, I'd look at it because it's amazing. It's before the days of PowerPoint, so visual aids tend to be, charts or things that you put on an easel. And I used to present like that. I did new business presentations at agencies like that. But we don't do that anymore. Maybe we should. Might be a way to stand out a little bit. But so the major groups of skills: planning and organizing, then delivery and performance skills. You see, you got to have objectives for the presentation. You have to understand your audience. How many people really do that? You've got to get data to support your recommendations. You're going to arrange everything in a sequence that's clear and logical and is persuasive. Yep. You get good aids, visual aids. You arrange the presentation room. You've got to think through all these things. Then here, delivery and performance skills: being comfortable and confident, using movement, gestures, and other nonverbal elements. Deliver effectively, handling questions or comments or responses skillfully, rehearsing your presentation and making any last-minute changes. Anyone doing a serious business presentation needs to do a full-up dress rehearsal, if possible, in the room you're going to present in, with everyone there. Full presentation. You stand here, I stand there. You work out all the details one time before you give it, and then you go to sleep. And you wake up, and you'll be more confident. So this kind of starts the concept of communication, which says it's an interchange of ideas between two persons who are each aware that the other is present So that's the idea I talked about before, which is you're putting it out, but you've got to make sure the other person is getting it. Right? This is detailed listener analysis. So this is what you do, what you go through to understand who you're presenting to. Who are the decision makers? Are they prepared to act now? How do they make decisions? How much money do they get? What do they know? What do they want? Are there political areas I shouldn't be getting into? How do I convince the decision makers? Okay, what turns them on? Ooh. So work background, social background, education level. Well, you can get that from LinkedIn now. Whose opinion do they respect? Okay, so these are valid, smart questions. I question myself how many presenters actually go through this analysis these days. What is a presentation? In a speech, you don't usually have visual aids. The presentation, you have visual aids, and it's different. It has a different objective. Okay, so there's that. Presentation's planned, organized, uses aids, and is tailored for each specific audience. So this is not my handwriting, but because mine isn't as good as that. This is a typical, and look, it's tell 'em. So this is a short presentation outline. State the subject in one sentence, state areas to cover, cover the areas, summarize. No new material in a summary, right? Next step and conclusions. That's a very simple presentation outline. Here's an order of preparation. And this is the support stage. This is where you're kind of going through the meat of your presentation. So you talk about the problems, the causes for it, other background, short, medium, long range consequences of the problem, and then what must the solution do. So this is how to be persuasive in going through, after your SWOT analysis, this is how you cover each problem. So we've outlined 4 key areas we want to address with our plan. Let's look at each of these, have a better understanding of why it's a problem, why it's an opportunity, and then tell you how we're going to address it. Then you follow this outline. Reviewing preparations steps. These are the things you want to make sure you've done. Right down to the dress rehearsal, setting up the room, preparing your visual aids, right? Tips on visual aids. The scribbles up here, letters, numbers, and pencil. This actually is my crummy handwriting. But here again you see there's no PowerPoint. But it's still worth looking at. These visualize as much as possible using graphs, diagrams, pictures, right? Visualize. Don't spell it out in text. And you can be dramatic. You can circle. You can underline. You can point to things, right? Okay. You pass things around. You tell them what to look for and where to find it. Make it easy to find, right? To a running dialogue with your audience as it gets passed around, keeping your eye on it. Okay. Here's a point about team presentations. Now, this is what you guys are going to be doing. So, team presentation. One person's assigned the role of captain of the team. I want you to do that. Captain may change. I'm not sure the captain's role should change. I think you should discuss that as a team. What are the benefits of it, or is it just confusing? Okay? So, this is what you should be covering in one of your first meetings. You've got a planning and preparation schedule. Now, I've done some of that for you. You'll see there's a kind of a course schedule in the course information section, and you'll see that I go week by week in terms of the areas that you should cover in your presentation. But look at that, see if you agree with it. Right? The captain gives assignments to people. There's a rehearsal at some point. Final critical review of your presentation. So, have you accomplished what you said you would accomplish in